although that there are two that are like the, and then they have to like rebuild.
Thank you, Brian. Good evening, good afternoon. Oh, well, it's good morning. I'll get there. Work my way back. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Policy Committee meeting for the Ulster County Transportation Council for February. So we'll do a roll call and then we'll call for citizens' comments. Brian?
So I will name the voting municipality. If the individual present could please state their name. Ulster County.
Ed Pine.
City of Kingston.
John Schulteis.
Town of Saugerties. Town of Ulster.
James Quigley.
New York State Department of Transportation.
Sandra Jobson.
New York State Thruway Authority.
Michael Bodette.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
Village of Saugerties. And I say, see, we have Vince Buono is on the call. Town of Rosendale.
Ken Hassett.
Town of Lloyd. Supervisor did say he would be in attendance, so we might have him later. Town of Plattekill. Village of Ellenville. Same for the Village of Ellenville. Town of New Paltz. Town of Woodstock. And Town of Rochester. I'm sorry, no, we do. Town of Gardner. Mary Beth Majestic. We have 8 present. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, we have a quorum. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. We have a quorum. Before I ask for the approval of the Policy Committee meeting summary, I'm going to call for citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments from anyone in the room?
Yes.
What's that?
I don't know it. The overwhelming, oh, there we are. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Cheryl Schneider. I've lived in Ulster County for almost 29 years, in the town of Rosendale for almost 27 years on County 25. I, along with all the other people in my town for well over a decade, have been clamoring for the reduction of speeds on Route 32 and 213 going through the town of Rosendale. This is a life saving and quality of life issue. It has been made explicitly clear. Recently, I did a change.org petition, which is being thrown out because it's not the right process. The town wants one in paper with signatures, so I have one now. This paper and signatures, and I plan to hit a whole bunch of doors in the next month or so, as well as the streets in question, because this is something that's not going to go away. We understand that the town and the county and the state like to prioritize commerce transit. We understand that 213 is a through road that hooks up a state 32 over to state 209 or US 209. And we're also here to say that people live there. People have houses there. People need to transport themselves on bicycles. People walk. There are people in wheelchairs. There are families with strollers. We will do whatever you throw in front of us. We're going to get over that roadblock, so to speak, because we want a traffic safety study, not the one that the town supervisor of Rosendale and the county exec asked for. Yes, Victoria Cooper lost her life, and we need to have a traffic safety study, and we need massive amounts of changes at that intersection. But before she lost her life, for decades, to the town supervisor's own claim that she spent over 14 years talking to the state, talking to the county, having phone calls and meetings and forums, and she's laying it all on the state. I think that's wrong. I don't believe it. And neither do the people in the town of Rosendale and the people who work here, own businesses here, and visit here. That is number one. How much more time do I have?
3 minutes.
How much?
3 minutes. We'll give you 3.
So we're going to talk about the UCAT optimization study.
Please watch our cables.
Oh, your cables, just watch it. Okay, so the UCAT optimization study is exactly what one would expect when you give it to a bunch of bro boys. Data can be interpreted a billion different ways. I don't care what sex they are or gender. Bro boys are bro boys. They see things as one. I'm wondering if this UCAT study even protected the data, the personal information and the whereabouts and the migration of the people of Ulster County. Who has that data? What did Foursquare Consulting do with that data? Who is mining it right now without our knowledge? Anybody put any protection in there? I doubt it.
In the middle of a conference call.
It better be public. It better be very public. All that data better be very public accessible because commercial special interests have access to it now. So what it didn't do is it didn't restore anything that was cut from before COVID. It cut more stuff. It flattened more routes. It makes commuting worse, not better, for the overwhelming majority of the people who depend on the bus. And this county has to stop peeling away mass transit money for tourism. Tourism is doing just fine. They don't need our public transit buses. I am totally opposed, and most people are, to the fact that Ulster County is underwriting state tourism. We have nature buses that we take offline. So if you're on the Z route and you want to go up the Route 28 line on a Saturday, the Z route isn't the Z route, it's the nature bus. You have to call ahead an hour and a half ahead of time to tell the dispatcher at UCAT that you want to be picked up at a certain stop that's a normal stop on the Z route. This is baloney. The very people who need to get to their jobs up the mountain can't get to their jobs up the mountain. I have 1 minute because they can't get the bus. What about people who don't know about the special secret sauce? You know what? A public transit system that's dependent upon constantly calling the dispatcher is not a public transit system. It's a special need, like only the squeaky wheel gets the ride. This is no good. And your community outreach is garbage because I didn't see you all riding the buses. I didn't see you all going to Hannaford where everyone has to wait for buses and interchanges. I saw a bunch of pictures. By the way, you used mine and Phil's without our permission, but that's all right. The UCAT study, yeah, that's me coming out of the bus from a few years back, because this isn't my first rodeo with this stuff. This is garbage. You go to where the people are who ride the buses, who need the mass transit. You have a bunch of people who are suits, well, they weren't in their suits, standing around tables, looking like, because they've never seen a bus route before. That is not public feedback. I really, really wish that we stop playing games, that we put people first, and that we started walking our talk. There's this community design study.
Your time is up, Joe.
I think you all should go back and review it. You've had 8 years to digest the 2017 community design study. Thank you very much for your time, Dennis.
Thank you.
And the rest of the committee and all you out there in virtual land. I appreciate your time and consideration.
Moving on to item 3 on the, call for citizens comments online. Anyone online have any citizens comments?
I'm seeing no hands raised.
Any comments from members of the council?
The only comment I would offer is that during Ms. Snyder's presentation, Supervisor Quigley texted me some information that might be helpful to her, and I'd be glad to pass it on to her.
I can't.
Sure. Why don't we do that after the meeting? Okay.
Supervisor Quigley passed on some information with regard to speed limit reduction, how to establish safe streets in your community.
Yeah.
So that may be helpful to the speaker's concerns.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, moving on to the approval, item 3, approval of the November 26, 2024 Policy Committee meeting summary. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Pine, we have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second from
Anyone?
Supervisor Quigley, seconds.
Thank you, Supervisor Quick. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you. Communications and announcements, Brian?
I do have two. We've actually been receiving quite a bit of communications from a variety of sources in recent weeks, including the United States Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, of which UCTC is a member. There are ears and eyes in Washington, D.C., and as policy and procedures are changing, they've been notifying the MPOs about new developments. One change that has been evolving, and we continue to receive updates as recently as this morning, is that the U.S. Department of Transportation has added an additional level of review to TIP and STIP amendments. Already there are several layers of review. Whenever we do an amendment to our UCTC TIP, it goes through Dennis, as well as several regional and state, New York State Department of Transportation approvals before it gets to either the FTA or Federal Highway Administration. And we've been notified that the US DOT will add an additional level of review. At first, this was described as a pause, which seemed to indicate that they would not be approving any TIP-STIP amendments, but that has been revised as simply an additional level of review. So it's interesting to note that it's something that we're dealing with. We don't have any amendments on the agenda for today. The next major group of amendments will be the update to the full transportation improvement program later this spring. So we'll keep you posted as issues arise. The other piece of correspondence that I wanted to relate is the UCTC, working with the Ulster County Executive's Office, has submitted a application for a Protect grant. This is a specific FHWA planning program for planning for resilient infrastructure. The proposal as prepared by our office would do a full evaluation of Ulster County roads and bridges and look at those facilities with regard to sensitivity for repeated flooding incidents and heat exposure, which are identified as the two major risk areas related to climate change in Ulster County, in our planning area. So this would be a 100% federal planning grant. It's a planning grant to do a study if awarded in the amount of, I believe we budgeted $330,000 for consultant assistance because it does involve quite a bit of detailed analysis of flood zones, which requires quite a bit of assistance. So this is our second submission for the Protect grant. As far as we know, the program is going to continue. So we're very optimistic.
Any other?
That's it.
Any communications and announcements from council members in the room?
I'm back at 11 anyway.
Okay.
Any communications? I'm going to ask everybody that's on the call to please mute themselves, please. Thank you. Any communications or announcements from anyone online?
I am not seeing any hands raised.
Thank you, Brian. Item number 5 on the agenda, new business. Item A, UCTC Resolution 2025-01, approval of the UCTC State Fiscal Year 2025 Unified Planning Work Program, UPWP. I'll have a motion for approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Hassett.
Second,
Do I have a second?
Supervisor Quigley.
I have a second. from
Supervisor Quigley,
Supervisor.
second.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. We have a motion and a second. Discussion, Brian?
I have a printed copy here if anyone is interested. Of course, it was part of our packet as well. This year's iteration of the Unified Planning Work Program, as with every year, runs on state fiscal year. It will be effective April 1 through March 30th. It continues the work that was previously programmed under the previous Unified Planning Work Program and continues to add several discrete planning studies. We have not added any new projects during this iteration because this planning year will be quite a busy one. We are still staff of one, myself with Dennis's assistance, and hope to fill our vacancy shortly. But with that, we have the update of the long-range transportation plan, the update of the Transportation Improvement Program, the ongoing route optimization study. These projects are more than enough to keep us busy, so we are not programming any new projects at this time. The 9W corridor study, the mobility study, was completed at the end of the calendar year, as was our railroad safety study in the city of Kingston, was completed at the end of the calendar year as well. So we're very pleased to have completed those projects, and we'll hopefully be starting our annual count program as well later this spring, and look for locations to do traffic counts. Therefore, there will be no new projects, but again, continuation of projects previously programmed in the previous Unified Trainer Work Program.
There is safety work improvement in here as well.
We have added additional funds for a systemic crash analysis on our roadways. This would be an update to the study that was completed in 2019. Previously, before David left, he submitted a very comprehensive and I would say very competitive grant proposal to a different program called Safe Streets for All. Unfortunately, that program was oversubscribed nationwide 3-1, and our application was not competitive, or it was not selected anyway. We have programmed sufficient funds of our own to do that work in-house and not rely on the Safe Streets for All grant program. So that is something that we'll have capacity for and will be a high priority, as well as the Albany Ulster Avenue corridor study, which would examine the corridor from the city of Kingston, essentially from the roundabout in the city of Kingston, all the way out to Route 9W in the town of Ulster. That is a project that has been programmed for several years, and we hope to start it later this year.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions from any of the council members in the room?
I should add, there's one more notable
Yeah.
addition. We are presently considering an amendment to the current contract with Foursquare ITP. That is the consultant that is under contract to assist us with the route optimization plan. In a previous meeting, we received quite a bit of feedback from the public regarding the need for bus shelters and the location of those bus shelters, and the condition of those bus shelters was questioned as well. So as part of that effort, we are looking at an enhanced scope of work that would do a detailed inventory and assessment of existing stops and the amenities that are available at those stops. They may be surprised to know that the UCAS system does not have a geographic information system inventory of those locations. We know the stops, but we don't have a detailed inventory of the facilities along those stops. So that enhanced, if we do decide to pursue an additional scope of work, that work would be done by Foursquare as an amendment to the contract.
And I think we're also looking at where, under the route optimization work, where there would be need for additional shelters, or where the shelter locations would need to change based on the route changes. Anything else? Anything from anybody online? Any questions or comments?
And I apologize, one final comment. The UPWP is subject to 15-day public review and notification. That notification was published, and the notification period ended on the 20th. We received no public comment.
Okay, I'm checking last time. Thanks, Brian. Hearing no comments? Any abstentions? Anybody opposed? Hearing none, so carried. Thank you. Item B, resolution 2025.002, report for the New York State Department of Transportation targets for safety performance measures. This is one that we do every year, and it updates those safety performance measures. Do I have a motion for approval? Thank you, Mr. Klein.
This is
Do I
Dick
have a,
Lefton.
go ahead.
I'll second it.
Can you identify yourself, please?
I'm sorry, Supervisor Flapjack.
Thank you, Supervisor. I have a motion and a motion and a second. Discussion, Brian?
Yes, as Dennis indicated, ever since 2015, MPOs throughout the United States are required to pass and monitor safety performance measures in 5 main areas. That's the number of fatalities on our roadways, the rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, the number of serious injuries, the rate of serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and non-motorized serious injuries. This is an annual requirement, and it's published in the Highway Safety Improvement Program, which is a publication of the New York State Department of Transportation. Metropolitan planning organizations have an option. They can pass their own performance measures for their metropolitan planning area, or they can use the statewide measure as published in the Highway Safety Improvement Program by the Department of Transportation. To date, all MPOs statewide have always chosen to
Use the state measures.
thank you, to use the New York State Department of Transportation and targets, and that is what Resolution 2025-2 does, and it will ensure that this MPO stays in compliance with the performance measure for safety.
Any questions from any of the council members in the room?
Are these numbers just New York State?
Correct, yes,
But it's statewide, it's not regionally or?
that's right. It's
Yeah. Any questions for anybody online?
I don't see any.
Hearing none, any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried, thank you. Item C, UCTC Resolution 25-3, apportionment of federal fiscal year 2023 Federal Transit Administration Section 5339 formula funds attributable to the Kingston Small Urbanized Area. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion for Mr. Pine. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second from Mr. Hassett. I have a motion and a second. Brian, you want me to do this one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll give you a rest on your
Thank you.
vocal cords. Section 5339 funds are capital funds used for transit work. The administration of these funds go to, there's only one designated recipient in Ulster County, and that's UCAT. And they're apportioned by urbanized area, in this case, the city of Kingston. And they would be programmed for capital improvements to UCAT, including buses and or other types of facilities associated with the transit operation. Total amount here, I believe, is $372,177. And these would be programmed through a trans application. The funding is good for, at least it was good for 5 years. So it needs to be spent within that time frame. Any questions?
I see no hands raised on one.
Hearing no questions. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you. Item D, UCTC Resolution 2025-04, apportionment of federal fiscal year 2024 Federal Transit Administration 5339 funds attributable to the Kingston Small Urbanized Area. May I have a motion for approval, please? Mr. Pine, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
The Supervisor Plavchak, I'll second it.
Thank you, Supervisor. I have a motion and a second. Just a quick discussion on this. This is the same as the prior resolution. It's just for federal fiscal year 2024 versus federal fiscal year 2023. And the money available here is $300,043. Any discussion from members of the council? Hearing none, any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried, thank you. I'm on E, Resolution 2025-05, apportionment of federal fiscal year 2024 Federal Transit Administration funds, Section 5307 and 5340 formula funds for the Mid-Hudson Transportation Management Area. Okay, I have a motion for approval. Mr. Pine, do I have a second?
I'll second Majestic.
Thank you Supervisor Majestic. I have a motion and second. Let me run through these for you. Section 5307 and 5340 funds are the most flexible of transit funds that are available to us. They include the use of preventive maintenance, operations, capital improvements, or administration. The Federal Transit Administration formula for the Mid-Hudson Transportation Management Area is decided among the 3 MPOs within the region. That means Orange County Transportation Council, Ulster County Transportation Council, and the Dutchess County Transportation Council. And there's also funding in here that goes to private sector carriers. Those private sector carriers in Ulster County are trailways. They go on a RFP process that is approved by the state for those funds. The methodology that the 3 councils use for these funds is based on preventive maintenance and monies earned. Monies are earned through something called the NTD, the National Transit Database. And there's a formula for monies, and they come down to the TMA as a single dollar amount, and then that dollar amount is divided among the 3 municipalities, the 3 transportation councils, excuse me. The largest number is, of course, in Orange County because of the amount of transportation services that are offered by Coach USA and others within Orange County itself. And Ulster County doesn't have a substantial amount of area within the TMA. Basically, the southern portion of Ulster County and moves into New Paltz and into the Lloyd area. Any questions? The allocation here for Ulster County Transit is $666,866. Any discussion from the members of the council?
See none online.
Hearing none, any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you. Item F on the agenda, UCTC Resolution 2025.06, apportionment of federal fiscal year 2024 Federal Transit Administration Section 5339 formula funds in the Mid-Hudson Transportation Management Area. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Pine, do I have a second?
I'll second Majestic.
I have a second from Supervisor Majestic. Motion and a second. UCTC, this resolution basically does the same thing in terms of the geographic area. It moves these monies around based on a formula that the transportation councils in the three counties have agreed to. It's actually based on a number of buses that are available in those communities. 5339 funds, like the previous discussion, are used for capital improvements. You know, in this instance, the capital improvements are available to Ulster County are $296,301 in section 5339A. And the remainder of this funding is to the other designated recipients. Of note, the private carriers in this formula do not get any money. All this money goes to the public carriers. Any questions? Hearing none. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you very much. Item 6, other old business. Brian.
Yes, the UCTC TIP update is well underway. The TIP is a portion of the state transportation improvement program. Excuse me, all 14 metropolitan planning organizations in New York State are updating their TIPs right now. Once those are approved, they get rolled up into what becomes the state transportation improvement program, which also includes the rural portions of the state. The TIP is a publication of all federal transportation dollars to be spent in the 5-year TIP period. So we update the tip every 2 to 3 years. And as part of that, UCTC has a pretty important role to play. We meet with all of our local sponsors that have projects currently on the tip that are in various phases of engineering and right-of-way acquisition. And we have conducted, I did a brief presentation at the technical committee meeting last month. We conducted about 18 meetings with the assistance of the New York State Department of Transportation. We had great participation from both our local sponsors and New York State DOT. So thank you, Sandra, to you and your staff for being available for all those meetings. And we go through each project and talk about project deliverables and benchmarks and our paths to successful completion and budgets, and if additional dollars are needed or if additional time is needed. So we have all that information compiled in a draft tip that there are still some pending information and changes forthcoming from a few of the local sponsors, but the majority of that work is complete. After we do that initial assessment, the next step is to see if we have enough money. And in this case, there is a small amount of federal aid left over across several different programs, including STBG Flex, STBG Off-System Bridge. There'll be over $12 million, and those are for local bridges largely. Carbon reduction program funding for 2 specific census designated areas in Ulster County. Over $1 million in carbon reduction program funding, which can be used for non-motorized projects, and also highway safety improvement program funding. So we're looking at our draft figures and our process going forward. We anticipate issuing an expression of interest letter. So all highest elected officials in Ulster County will receive that letter from our office, indicating that there are dollars on the table available for future programming for potential projects. The funds can be used if you have an existing project on the tip and you need additional dollars for it, or if you have a new project proposal, as long as it's eligible for the specific program. And all the eligibility information will be laid out in that expression of interest letter. So we want to hear from municipalities about their needs, whether it's on the local roadway system or on state and county roads within their municipalities. If they have concerns about safety, crosswalks, types of facilities for improvements like sidewalks, rectangular flashing beacons, things of that nature. These are the types of projects that can potentially be programmed with any of those, except for the bridge funding. Any of those funding sources can be used for that. We're having ongoing discussions with our resident engineer at the New York State DOT and the regional director regarding ongoing safety concerns on our roadways. If we can program these funds with New York State DOT's assistance for rapid implementation, that would probably be our preference. So we're going to work with the DOT on how we can program those funds and identify feasible projects.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Hold on, give me 10 seconds. Let me phrase it. Any questions from somebody in the room?
I was just wondering, would some of those funds be available for the situation we have here in Rosendale that Ms. Snyder addressed earlier with regard to safety improvements on crosswalks or whatever the study might call for to improve that whole section?
Potentially, yes.
Okay, and you said there would be a local share in that as far as making application for the funds? Or would that all be encompassed in the letter from supervisor and the executive?
We'll lay out the process in the letter to the greatest extent we can. Right now, we're really interested in identifying potential projects and needs and concerns that can be turned into projects in short order and utilize the funds. As we move along through programming federal funds, there is always a local share required. And who pays that share, it typically depends on who is the owner of the facility would be responsible for the local share.
Not always.
Not always.
Just keep
Said you-
that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So there could be agreements or exceptions made to the local share.
So I had a question from somebody online.
That was Mary Beth. Go ahead, Mary Beth.
So would this be where I would present a concern about our intersection on Route 299 and Route 4455 up by the Bra House? That everybody loves to go there and eat, but nobody wants to cross the street from the overflow parking lot to the restaurant or take a chance making a left or a right coming out of 299 because it's become quite the crash zone. So I don't know if this is where I would do that or not.
This is an excellent opportunity to detail those concerns in writing to the UCTC, because this process, I didn't want to get too down into the weeds, but it has several important factors to it that we may or may not be able to fund or program the funding toward the project, but it does identify the need, which goes directly into the long-range transportation plan. And so an issue like that, Supervisor Majestic, should definitely be raised in writing and submitted through this process. It's a perfect opportunity.
Great.
I think too, it's important to clarify some expectations because you said that you spoke with our regional director and resident engineer about potentially doing state projects with monies made available from the TIP update. We have done that very successfully with other MPOs with the caveat, and this is very important. A, there is very clear public support and it is fully funded when it is put on the TIP.
Right.
And the 20% in the past has occasionally, it depends on the project, but the local match has been supplied by the local municipality. So I don't know your conversation. I'll go back and I'll confirm.
Sure.
Because they're not as familiar with when this happened. And I just want to make sure that this is not just a matter of, I have a problem in my
Of
town,
course.
please.
Let me clarify. I mean, there's several ongoing discussions.
Uh-huh.
One is on Route 299 Main Street, New Paltz, with the mayor of New Paltz has been working directly with NICO at Region 8 to identify locations for enhanced crosswalks. We're awaiting the results of that planning study from the New York State DO from Region 8. And if and when there are improvements or needs identified, we may be able to offer our own targets toward that need. That's all I'm referring to.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but that's good to know. I need to
And
know.
then also in
that
the
this-
town of Rosendale, I mean,
Uh-huh.
I've just read about this in the paper like everyone else,
Yeah.
but the county executive, along with the Supervisor Walsh, submitted a letter requesting a study of 213 and 32 in the town of Rosendale. And the regional director responded affirmatively. And if there are potential improvements that can be made, we would like to offer our financial support to the extent that we're able.
So a safety study for Route 213 and Route 32,
That's correct.
Yeah, the.
intersection or corridors? What?
No, it's the intersection
Okay.
primarily.
Okay.
And the regional director has responded in the affirmative with respect to, I just want the council members to know.
So
that
it's a
these are-
safety study.
Point of order, town of Rosendale would prefer an all-encompassing
I
study
know that, yeah.
rather than just the intersection of 213 and 32. But
We're aware that the town has a larger
be
project in
grateful for any
mind.
movement forward from here forward.
Yeah. So,
Anything positive can always be built on.
yeah. So, and I just want the council to know that these are ongoing discussions that we have with the department on a regular basis, based on citizens' concerns, based on our own concerns, based on results of studies. So these are not unusual conversations that we have.
Okay, but I just want to clarify too. So these are two existing ongoing safety studies. Are you expecting results prior? Are you going to set aside money? I mean, I just want to control
We don't know yet.
expectations.
That's a conversation we need to have.
Okay,
Yeah.
but again, I just want to clarify with the
Timing
members.
may not be the most advantageous, given where you are in the study process and where we are in the tip.
Right, I
process.
mean, but we will do another tip update in 2 years from
Yeah,
now.
right.
Yeah.
So I just think we should be, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
and
understand.
if we're unable, I mean, projects need to be implementable, right? We know that. And if we do not identify projects that seem to be feasible within the time frame, then we have the option to block program those funds on the tip, which we may still very well do. But we do want to give municipalities the opportunity through, it's a non-traditional corporate project.
Mhm.
Given the really shortened time frame that we're working under, we feel the expression of interest process is the appropriate way to go forward.
Yeah, and we laid out, and council members, please comment, we laid out what we believe the priorities for the council are. And that is namely safety improvements, not other types of capital improvements, which these funds could be used for.
Mhm.
So we've laid that out. And if anybody wants to weigh in on that, we would appreciate those comments. Okay, anything else, Brian?
Under the tip update, no, that's it. We're still working toward expected tip approval process would be May, June of this year.
Yeah, I do want to mention the fact that there's not a lot of money here with respect to what's left over in terms of programming funding. And that's the first piece of this. The second thing that we did mention is there is quite a bit of funding available in off-system bridges. So those folks that at the local level that submitted Bridge New York program funds applications and didn't get funded, now's the time to take a look at that. Those generally will be, they will be available for off-system bridge funding. So if you have a bridge in bad position, has red flags on it or something like that, now is the time to respond to that expression of interest letter that's going to be coming out shortly. I know we have at least one concerned highway superintendent in the town of Worsing that has expressed interest. There may be others, but now is the time to do that. And I also extend that to our dear friends at our Public Works Department in Ulster County. This is a time to get your off-system bridge funding available. They use that.
So you have the list of bridges that were submitted this last round, right? And you know which ones were actually awarded and which ones weren't. Are you gonna proactively specifically reach out to the applicants or is it just gonna be general? I mean, or
We were talking about
general?
but we certainly we certainly make the phone calls.
And, okay. And-
Yeah. We don't want to limit it
Right,
to just those.
Right.
So that's the reason for that.
Is the application process gonna be?
We're going to use your
I mean-
application process.
Oh,
that's
from
our-
Bridge
that's our-
New York?
But that's our intent would be to sort of mimic the application process from Bridge New York.
And are you thinking you'll have all that done before June, or you're gonna block the funding and
think
just,
we're
if
gonna-
it rolls past your tip update?
So let me put that in. We think that it may be hybrid. We may end up having some of it program to the extent that we have good applications and they come in associated with the Bridge New York program.
Mhm.
But we also may end up taking a portion of that funding and block programming it as
Okay.
well. So we think there could be a hybrid. That's a lot of work to do in a very short. I know it sounds like a long period of time, but it actually isn't.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. Okay, good, thank you.
Do you have any other suggestions?
No, I think that's a good strategy.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the tip update, Brian? I know I asked you that before. Okay, you want to go into the 2050 long range transportation plan update?
Right, the long range transportation plan is a 25-year planning horizon document. It's due for completion September 30th of this year. We have consultants under contract assisting us, FHI and Transpo, with public engagement and technical preparation of the document. We hope to announce the first initial public engagement component of this project within the next week or two, and that will kick off with a general transportation survey for all members of the public, and then move into wider community engagement.
So, and we would plan on using the Transportation Council's Technical Committee as an advisory committee. Is that that's our thought here. As this moves forward, we're going to use the Transportation Council's Technical Committee as the advisory committee for this project. And this is an update. It's not a redo. We've been back and forth with the consultants in terms of where we are on this, in the existing plan, how it meets the current federal guidelines. And we believe we can safely say that we don't have to redo the entire plan. It's literally an update. Any questions on that? I know long-range transportation planning doesn't sound sexy, but it actually is a very important critical component of what we do. And it sets the stage for future TIP amendments, excuse me, for future TIP projects. And influences to some extent, the department's actions as well. It also has to be fiscally constrained. So we're in a challenging environment to look at fiscal constraints right now. Hearing none, any other old business to come in front of, any other project updates, Brian?
The only project update that's underway is the route optimization study. You can go to Participate Ulster for updates on that project. We're presently reviewing comments and developing revisions after our first round of scenario vetting, and then moving into a second round of scenario vetting, which would include new routes serving the same general area that is currently served, and we'll be developing detailed schedules as part of the second round of scenario vetting. So we hope to unveil that, I would say, in the next 4 weeks.
Any additional communications or discussions from members of the council within the room? Any additional communications or discussions from members of the council online? Okay, I just want to note that the next Ulster County Traffic Safety Board meeting is tentatively scheduled for March 3rd, 2020.
That is not tentative, that is official.
Okay.
Those meetings are held at 6 p.m. in the Ulster County Legislative Chambers. I should note that issues regarding speed reduction studies, requests and things of that nature are perfectly suited for the Ulster County Traffic Safety Board, where we have our resident engineer, typically our Commissioner of Public Works, myself and several others who can provide guidance and assistance to communities.
Okay. We have no technical committee meetings scheduled at this particular point in time. As we move closer to the TIP, we are thinking about scheduling a technical committee meeting to discuss the TIP as it comes to fruition, and we get all the projects lined up in it. So I would expect late spring, early summer for that. When is the TIP due, Brian?
June, is our
Yeah,
target.
so it will be before June. For sure. So probably May for a technical committee meeting, and then June for a policy committee meeting to adopt the TIP.
We're required to host a public meeting for the transportation improvement program as well,
Yeah.
independent of this committee. So that will have to be factored into the schedule.
Any other business to come before the council?
Seeing none online.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll try to get the afternoons and the evenings straightened out next time we meet. So, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.